My name is Demetri and I'm from period 1, and I did my presentation on chapter 10, Hypnopedia. What is Hypnopedia? Hypnopedia is like a fancy name for sleep learning it while you sleep. And it was found by serious researchers in the mid 20th century. And they found positive results. They found exactly what they were looking for. Actually sleeping and learning something when you wake up. They would question their test subjects. And this also played like a major key part in the novel Brave New World. And this also would also consider to be brainwashing too if you use it to, I guess, change someone's thoughts and ideas of something that they believe in. And people would also really benefit off of it because they would learn a new language, maybe even learn the alphabet, some words, some phrases. And this also was a good outcome for people who wanted to make money based off of it by selling the discs, because this was a huge hit back in the mid 20th century. Why was it used? So it was basically used it was basically just to teach people while they'd sleep. And these methods that they would do were effective in getting people to remember facts of something, like I said, a language. And it could also promote simple stimulus response conditioning. So they'd hear something, respond to it after they would wake up from hearing it in their sleep. And psychologists were able to make test subjects learn sniffing behavior in response to audible cues. So they would hear something on one side of their head or hear something on one side, and they were able to smell it while they were sleeping. And then they do the same thing on the other side with something else, and they're able to smell that too. And at the end of the test, or when they wake up, they would question them, what did you think you heard, or what did you hear? And were you able to smell it? And it was successful, actually. They were able to identify what they were smelling and hearing. And the smell and the hearing simple tones can be processed in primitive brain areas. So that's why they did it on different sides of the head. And this conditioning also worked no matter at what stage of the person was in their sleep cycle. Summarization of chapter. So chapter 10, Hypnopedia. It was basically they did some test runs, and one was good, one was bad, one failed. And it was this took place in the autumn of 1957. The Woodland Road Camp, penal institution in California, and it became a scene of curious and interesting experiment of all the tests that they did of trying to teach them while they slept. And they explained in the chapter how they would run the tests and what they would do. So basically they took a miniature loudspeaker, they put it under the test subject's pillow, and they would play a calm, soothing, relaxing voice at a low volume. And while the test subject is sleeping, they would hear that. Some people sleep on their right side, some people sleep face up, some people sleep on their left side. So basically it was successful all three ways. No matter how you slept, you were still able to learn something what they were trying to teach you. They were basically trying to teach you the moral successful living. And the earliest attempts at the sleep teaching, the director had told his audience it had been misguided and therefore it was unsuccessful. And hypnopedia became successful only when it was used for moral training, in other words, for the conditioning of like behavior through verbal suggestion at a time of lowered psychological resistance. And on the loudspeaker, they'd basically be like inspirational words, and it would be on the principles of moral living. And there were a few people who would just randomly wake up at night, hearing the little calm and soothing voice come from their pillow, and they wouldn't know what to do or say except for just go back to sleep. And they were still successful, some weren't, but yeah. Quotes and references. So, one quote that really stuck out and was just like from the book, Brave New World. It was till last the children's mind is these suggestions, and the sum of the suggestions is the child's mind, and not the child's mind only, the adult's mind too. And the mind that judges and desires and decides, all of these suggestions are our suggestions and suggestions from the state. And basically it sums up the hypnopedia, and that people are built upon the ideas of the state. How Brave New World and Brave New World Revisited are alike. So these two are alike because when I turned to the second chapter, Brave New World, in that chapter, the director of hatcheries and conditioning for Western Europe explains to a group of freshman conditioners and hatchers the workings of the state-controlled system of ethical education, and known in the 7th century after Freude as hypnopedia. And the earliest attempts at sleep teaching, the director told his audience, had been misguided and therefore unsuccessful. So Huxley continues his presentation of dystopian social stability with a close look at the theory and practice of early conditioning. In the explanation of hypnopedia and infantile conditioning, Huxley makes clear that the elimination of choice increases economic and social stability, but diminishes the potential for human growth.